The recipe San Dou Yin, translated free bean soup or also called free bean drink, comes from China, has been used there for centuries, and is still used today by therapists and doctors of Chinese medicine. In general, I would like to say in advance that beans are not suitable for all those people who have an elevated uric acid level, in example, who are prone to gout. It's said that the San Dou Yin recipe goes back to the very famous Dr. Bian Que in ancient China, who lived about 500 years before the birth of Christ. To make the free bean soup, you will need green mung beans, black soybeans, and red adzuki beans. Please make sure that you get them in best organic quality. The effect of the drink is that it clears the body of toxins. This means all kinds of toxins: nicotine toxins, chemical substances, environmental toxins, and so on. Thus, the drink has a detoxifying effect. Measure out 20 grams of each type of bean. By the way, the influence of Dr. Bian Que on Chinese medicine is as significant as, for example, Hippocrates' influence on Western medicine, and his teachings are still relevant today when studying Chinese medicine in China. To be honest, though, we don't really know if this recipe really goes back to Bian Que. Because it's still so popular today, still used and considered a very important recipe, it's attributed to this famous doctor who is an icon in Chinese medicine. The recipe appeared for the first time about 1000 years after Christ. There was the first written record about it. In nutritional science, beans belong to cereals and seeds and are generally considered to be very balanced and harmonizing, that is, balancing and rich in various B vitamins. Beans are widely eaten all over the world. Usually, they are eaten, but this recipe is about a so-called decoction from the beans. In China, beans have spread at the beginning not so much because they were so tasty, but mainly because they are a good food in times of need. The crop yield is very high, and they grow well even on not very fertile soils. For example, the yield is 4 to 5 times higher than that of millet. And in the course of history, of course, China has invented other ways of processing. So tofu products, soy sauces, and so on were created. But today, it should be primarily about the so-called decoction of the beans. This decoction is an application from the dietetics, thus the nourishing theory is and belongs in Asia to the people knowledge. Families who are familiar with nutrition, they also know this San Dou Yin recipe. San means free, Dou means bean, and Yin means, in this case, drink. The red adzuki beans, red as they are, they act on the blood. The green ones act on the liver, expelling heat and toxins. And the black soybeans supports the kidneys. So the combination of all three eliminates toxins, and by eliminating toxins, the drink has a supportive effect on the whole body. Now first soak your bean mixture in a large enough bowl for at least 12 hours, preferably overnight, and then pour it off the next day. While it's debatable whether or not the soaking water should be poured away, my grandmother had always told me that it was better to pour it away, especially if you are prone to bloating or gas. I always pour it away, not only because I trust my grandmother on that, but because the hard-to-tolerate substances dissolve out of the beans and remain in the water. Now put the washed beans in a pot. Then you pour 800 milliliters of water over them. And then you bring everything to a boil. Once the water boils, let the beans simmer for about 45 minutes on medium heat with the lid slightly open. The water will reduce to about 600 milliliters. Now pour the beans into a sieve and collect the decoction in a bowl. Then you can drink your first cup. Please remember that you should always drink the beverage warm, in example warm it up, if it has already cooled down. Drink 1 to 2 cups of the decoction daily. Do this 2 to 3 times a week. And then do this quietly over a period of 2 to 3 months. If you generally tolerate beans well, you can also prepare a delicious chutney from the cooked beans. I show you here my recipe. So I take 1 tablespoon tamari, 1 tablespoon balsamic vinegar, 1 tablespoon olive oil, 1/2 teaspoon of curry powder, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika powder, and now, very important, for better compatibility, 1/2 teaspoon of cumin powder. Now add some dried wild garlic, and then you mash the beans until you get a chutney. You can of course do this with a blender. Now, before I forget, for your decoction, that is your drink, there are still 2 small variations I can tell you. One is you can cook the free bean soup together with ginger. That's quite good if you're prone to cold. In that case, you cook 2 slices of ginger along over the last 15 minutes. The second variation is that you add 0.25 grams of saffron to the still warm liquid right after pouring it off. Remember to soak the saffron in a little water beforehand. This variant is good for the blood. And now I wish you good success, and if you have any questions, I'm here for you.